Hello, friends. Welcome to the Career Guru podcast. I am your host, Steve Yanovsky. What a glorious day it is to start your path in a new career. Doors are opening here at the Boston Career Institute even as we speak. And I'm here holding the key for you. So tune in, stay sharp, and enjoy yourself. This is going to be great. Hashtag Let's Career Up.
Greetings, my friends, aspiring career gurus, professionals, all across the fruited plain. I welcome you once again to our newest installment of the Career Guru podcast. I am your career guru, Steve Yanovsky, bringing to you yet another episode across the internet. It's magical, I tell you. It's good to be back with you. We're entering our fall months here in New England, which means the start of foliage season, all the beautiful colors on the trees and leaves and so on and so forth, all culminating yours truly raking the leaves from the yard, which is not anything that I'm looking forward to. But the guru, who is my wife, Mrs. Guru, is telling me that I must clean the yard, and that I shall do. So wish me luck. In any case, I've gotten a lot of interesting responses to our most recent podcasts, all having to do with developing various strategies, which all stemmed from us dealing with issues of procrastination and stuff like that. It was very exciting. A lot of a flurry of feedback, and I promised to do a guru response to emails and so on and so forth in the near future. We'll do that. Those are usually very popular episodes. What we've been working on led me to an interesting topic based on some feedback that I received, and that's dealing with workplace anxiety, which is something that I want to touch on today. And perhaps there's enough material here for several brief podcasts, but I think anxiety is something that, or workplace anxiety is something that most people can identify with. And we become anxious for all sorts of reasons, and we cannot dismiss any of them, which is, it's an amazing thing, when a person shows up wearing a cast, or some kind of a sling on their arm. And, we can see that something happened to that person, and we can identify with them. We can actually commiserate with them and feel their pain. But when a person is feeling anxious, there's really no true outward signs. Yeah, the person could be sweaty and they could be pale and so on and so forth, but these are extreme physical outward signs. But most people hide their anxiety on the inside, and we can't truly measure the level of anxiety and pain, emotional pain that people go through, which is an amazing thing that, it happens to so many people, and yet we can't feel it. And, another similar thing that we have out there is when people begin to lose their hearing a little bit and have to ask you questions when you say to them, people, instead of feeling badly that a person can't hear you, people get upset. So, and the same thing happens in the workplace and even at home and in our circles of friends, that people can't really identify with people going through anxiety. Interestingly enough, very few people have any understanding as to what anxiety truly is. And anxiety is one of those crazy things that exhibit itself differently in different people. So let's first talk about what anxiety actually is. What is anxiety? So anxiety is a natural emotional and physiological response to stress, uncertainty, or perceived danger. All sorts of interesting things. Anxiety is a huge, broad field, and I certainly am not truly qualified to deal with the topic of anxiety. That is left to the professionals. There's doctors and so on and so forth, and coaches that deal with anxiety. But, let's deal with a few basic things so people can identify with what I'm talking about. Most people don't really understand that they're going through something relatively complex until they truly hear that, wow, that's really happening to other people, and we can quantify this in some detail. So what are the emotional symptoms of anxiety? And again, I want to pre-qualify this that I'm not trying to treat any disorders here. I'm simply talking about a topic that many people are having a hard time dealing with or understanding what they're going through, and blame themselves for going through something that they really need to seek help for. So there are emotional symptoms like excessive worry or fear. That's outside of the reasonable condition that people normally have. Restlessness, feeling on edge all the time, difficulty concentrating, irritability. Some people are constantly irritable and they don't understand why. They could be suffering with anxiety. And we first started talking about that, but there are also physical symptoms of anxiety. Heart palpitations or a very fast heart rate that you will feel. Most people don't think about their heartbeat, which happens automatically. But, a fast heart rate, you begin to feel that heart pumping in there. A lot of times that has to do with anxiety, stress and anxiety. Sweating, excessive sweating. Not that you just read up 5 flights of stairs and now you're sweating, where it's 110 degrees and you're sweating. No. When, the sweat is pouring off of you and it ain't normal. Trembling, shaking, shortness of breath, tension in muscles, stomach issues, like feeling nauseous. Sometimes it exhibits as heartburn. And of course, upset stomach and diarrhea. These are crazy things that happen. There's also things having to do with your cognition, your thinking ability, racing thoughts, constant what if thinking, over analyzing situations. They call it ruminating on stuff. Fear of losing control, another big one. So these are all the things that people go through. And believe me when I tell you, if you're going through something like that, not just one symptom, but something that's outside of the normal realm for you, something that started happening all the time, you may have an issue that you need to deal with. So today we started talking about dealing with workplace anxiety. And workplace anxiety may incorporate one or several, sometimes all of these things that I'm talking about. If you're going through any of these things and you're dealing with them, other people don't really see them. Outside of that sweating thing, people won't notice and they won't be able to identify with you. And you feel especially alone. That's not good. It's not going to get any better. People need to learn to deal with this. A lot of times, and most cases, I do recommend finding a professional in the field of psychotherapy. Sometimes it could be a social worker, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, to help you deal with it if it's too much. But in some cases, you may be able to deal with it yourself. And that's what I wanted to briefly talk about today, just to make sure, just to get this issue out in front. Okay, so first of all, don't feel alone. I'm going to tell you right now that it is a huge, huge issue. Tens of millions of people suffer from it in one form or another. And a lot of people have sought help and have received medications or cognitive therapy and so on and so forth. So don't feel alone. There is no stigma associated with it. You are not at fault here. Okay, this is something that needs to be done. This is an illness like anything else, except it's very hard to diagnose. You cannot take somebody's blood pressure and diagnose them with anxiety disorders or just plain old anxiety. Doesn't have to be a disorder. Just because somebody is anxious doesn't mean that nothing bad is happening. Okay? This is something you need to understand. So it's not abnormal a lot of times to have this anxiety. There are things that cause you to have anxiety. These things we refer to as triggers. Okay? So first things first, if you want to do a little self-help, you need to recognize the causes of your anxiety. Specific situations, tasks, or people that may trigger your anxiety. One of the things that helps you do that is keeping a journal of events and how you feel about them. It'll not only help you, but if you ever seek advice or counsel from somebody else, from a professional in the field, being able to show a flow of your thoughts and emotions and your responses is going to be key. So keeping a journal is very important. Okay, you will be able to also detect a pattern in what's happening. If you're serious about trying to solve this matter on your own, being able to find a pattern, how things go in general for you is key. You need to also try to understand your reactions. Notice how your body and mind react to the triggers that we just talked about. Notice your heart rate. Notice your negative thoughts. Notice the avoidance behavior. And yes, going back to our original conversations about procrastination oftentimes is a cause, actually the effect or a behavioral response to workplace anxiety. Yes, it does happen, which is why exactly we're talking about this today. Again, your responses led me to this about workplace anxiety. A lot of people use that term. They may not even understand what that means, but that's why we're talking about this today. After you recognize causes or understand reactions, okay, to these triggers, developing coping strategies is key. One of the things that professionals tell us about management of anxiety and developing coping strategies is to practice mindfulness. What does that mean? What is mindfulness? That's mindfulness of self. First of all, create a space for yourself where you can be at peace for yourself, with yourself. And in that, even though I'm not a big fan of the term safe space, but yes, in this term, I'd like to say that a safe space, emotional space for yourself, engage in treating yourself right. Be good to yourself. Engage in breathing exercises, meditation, progressive muscle relaxation techniques to help you ground yourself in the present moment. Now, I cannot teach you that here right now, but there's so many resources on the internet that you can, get into for free to teach you these things. That's a great start, but you could also find people in your community who practice this. There's so many places here that offer meditation, yoga, Tai Chi, some of the Eastern techniques to get in touch with yourself. And in many cases, people go there to deal with these anxiety issues that they have and to develop these coping strategies. So this is key. Using cognitive techniques, meaning thinking, challenging yourself not to feel negativity and to drive negativity away. It's an interesting thing. Negative emotions and positive emotions are both emotions, whichever way you choose to swing. One way of dealing with it is to believe that everything is for the best, any which way you slice it, and to turn negative emotions or negativity into positivity all by itself. Now, it all sounds very simple, and yet it requires a lot of self-meditation and understanding that this is exactly how it is, okay? Positive affirmations are a good technique. And once again, if you don't know how to do it, it's worth checking out on the internet. And of course, Career Guru will try to look it up and see if there's some good resources. And I will try to post them or perhaps do another podcast and we can do some cognitive coping strategies. And the interesting thing, what we talked about before about procrastination and staying away from that was breaking up big tasks into small tasks and celebrating these victories. It's a interesting technique that we talked about in the last few episodes of the Career Guru podcast. Okay, about breaking up large tasks, which can be a daunting experience looking at a large task that you have to complete. And then you break it up into smaller pieces, and then all of a sudden it doesn't seem as bad anymore, as menacing, or it won't cause you anxiety. In other words, don't try to take on a large project. Look at a large project as a bunch of small projects and celebrate each and every step. Don't overdo it. Dealing with failure, quote unquote failure that we talked about, this was a big part of it. So this is an interesting thing. Another interesting point that's interwoven into what we talked about in the last 6 or 8 episodes, about 6 episodes, all stemming from dealing with procrastination, is improved time management. A lot of time, the cause of our anxiety is ourselves. And of course, if we do improve our time management skills, we're not going to be quite as anxious that we're going to fail. Parts of improving time management is first and foremost, as far as dealing with your personal anxiety, is to set priorities or to prioritize tasks for yourself. Using to-do lists, planners, or apps to prioritize tasks and manage your time effectively may help you. Just remember, none of this stuff is cast in stone. Just because you didn't fulfill one of those little check marks doesn't mean that you need to become anxious about it. It's okay to move something further. And once again, if you broke down a larger tasks into a bunch of smaller tasks, it makes that particular adventure much easier. I hope you understand what I mean. Just when you set the calendar and you have to go step by step by step, it's all good as long as it's realistic, as long as you're not setting yourself up for failure, as long as you're not going to beat yourself up for not reaching one of these goals. Okay? Make them small victories and celebrate them. That way you will certainly be able to have a lot more positive energy than negative energy. Setting boundaries is another big one. Learn to say no when necessary. Okay, so a lot of anxious people are those people who can't say no when they're being loaded up with projects and say, oh, sure, of course I can do that. And then what does it turn out to be? It turns out to be, no, I can't do that, or I couldn't do that, and now I'm a failure. Stay away from overcommitment. Under-promise and over-deliver. That's a key strategy. That's a boundary. Learn to say no, or possibly say maybe. When you under-promise and over-deliver, you're always the hero, first and foremost for yourself. Take regular breaks. Reward yourself. Reward yourself. Step away from your desk regularly to recharge, even if it's just for a few minutes. Just stand up and, do some jumping jacks, something like that. If your workplace allows you, of course, simple things like that. Or just taking a walk around your desk, 30 seconds, 1 minute, come back, celebrate your accomplishment, and take on the next task. Of course, communication is key. People need to understand what you're talking about, and you need to understand what they're talking about. Clarity is key to reduction in anxiety and stress in the workplace. Communicate your thoughts and ideas clearly, and make sure that you understood what people said to you before. Okay? That's key. Talk to your manager. If your anxiety is related to workload or unclear expectations, have an open conversation with your supervisor to discuss your concerns and seek solutions. They're there to help you. Your failure is their failure. They're going to be anxious too. They're also people. Remember, we can't see what's on the inside. So being able to relate to another person from understanding that they too may be anxious, that somebody's pressing on them too. They also have their own emotional triggers. Okay? It's, again, think of a person with a sling on their arm. We instantly begin to commiserate with them. We feel empathy towards them. But people with anxiety, it can't be seen, it can't be understood. And so many people out there are suffering in silence. This is an extreme case, but one of my favorite comedians and actors was Robin Williams. And he was one of the funniest men I've seen. And yet he suffered from a tragic depression. And we know of many people like Robin Williams. Seeking support, reach out to your colleagues, trusted friends at work or in the community, whatever the case may be. Sometimes just talking about your feelings can and will reduce your anxiety. Take care of yourself. Self-care is a big deal. Sometimes exercise, regular exercise. Certainly sleep is a very important factor. Eat well. You are what you eat. We don't pay enough attention to that. As a matter of fact, you know what? Now that I think about it, it's a great opportunity for another podcast about eating well. Guru will work on a guest to discuss this. Last but not least, seeking professional help. If you can't cope with your anxiety using these basic tools that we just talked about, perhaps some professional help is in order. Don't be ashamed. You don't need to talk about it. But lots of people are resorting to seeing psychologists, psychiatrists, social workers, counselors, mentors. Okay? We don't need to discuss it, but there is no stigma to it. It's a wonderful thing. Sometimes within your family, there is a built-in psychologist. I can go to my wife and have a conversation with her, and many times she will take an edge off. Okay? And sometimes not. So there is no shame. Guru himself had sought professional help and got it, and am a happier person from it. I'll tell you, last but not least, my personal experience. I used to suffer from debilitating back pain. I tried every medical solution, chiropractors, needle, acupuncturists. But the person who helped me was a psychologist. It turned out that I was suffering from anxiety, even though I was dealing with it perfectly well on the outside, but on the inside, it was eating me up and causing my muscles to tense up to such an extent that I was in constant pain and there was no medical solution for it. We were thinking surgery. But after a few treatments with a qualified professional, my back pain was gone. I've been pain-free for the last 5 years. So there you have it. And on that note, my dear friends, until our next episode, I'm looking forward to speaking to you again very, very soon on topics near and dear to us all. This is the Career Guru. I'm signing off. Looking forward to seeing you very, very soon. God bless you all. And remember, all of these topics about anxiety, you could be suffering from them. Deal with them. Write to me. Send me notes. And I'm here for you. Wishing you all the best.
Well, friends and aspiring career gurus, this was fun. Thank you for tuning in. I feel enlightened, I feel empowered, and I'm feeling grateful that we spend time with you. For more information about Boston Career Institute, please visit our website, bostoncareer.org. Boston Career Institute has 3 campuses located in Brookline, Massachusetts, Malden, Massachusetts, and Lowell, Massachusetts. Call our toll-free number, 888-383-6058. For questions, comments, and/or information about our podcast, email me at thecareerguru@bostoncareer.org. The Career Guru podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, our website, bostoncareer.org, or wherever you stream your podcast. Subscribe, stream, rate, and review our shows. Your rating and reviews help our show reach new audiences. Produced by PodPro Entertainment, the Career Guru lives within a network of podcasts located at podproentertainment.com. # the new radio. Looking forward to seeing you soon. All the best to you. My name is Steve Yanovsky. I am the Career Guru. May God bless you. # let's career up.